At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker. Dr. Philip Ozua currently serves as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Montefiore Medical Center, the University Hospital for the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. In this role, he helps lead one of the most unique and outstanding academic medical centers in the country. His accomplishments in education, research, patient care, and community service led me to appoint him chair of pediatrics shortly after I assumed the Einstein deanship. His performance as chair and as physician-in-chief of the Children's Hospital at Montefiore defined what it means to be a true leader. I'm glad to have him as a colleague and a friend. Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for the invitation to be here this evening. Good evening. I love babies, I have to tell you. So that's music to my ears there. President Joe, Chairwoman Gottesman, Dean Spiegel, President Safir, members of the Einstein Board of Overseers, members of the Einstein faculty, distinguished alumni and guests, and most importantly, the graduating class of 2013. You know, many people who speak at an occasion such as this begin by saying, you probably won't remember anything I say today. Well, let me be clear. I fully expect you to remember everything that I say to you tonight, and especially those of you who will be training at Montefiore. We know who you are. We have your names. There will be a test. And then, of course, you can expect to hear certain cliches on a night like this. Today is the first day of the rest of your lives. No kidding. You are the brave, the bold, the beautiful. That is true. Make a difference. The future is in your hands. Okay? So is the national debt. And all the while you're sitting there wondering, when do we get to leave here? So that we can go get a drink. I'm wondering exactly the same thing. And when the graduates are scientists with master's degrees, or MDs, or PhDs, or perhaps crazy enough to have all three like me, it is not unusual to hear about faith and science, creation and evolution. I will not address that topic this evening. But I learned something the other day about creation and evolution, which I'd like to share with you. A very young girl goes up to her mother and asks the dreaded question. She says, "Mommy, where did I come from?" And the mother thinks for a moment and says, "Well, you know, sweetheart, first there was only God. And then he created Adam and Eve. And you, darling, came from Adam and Eve." In pediatrics, we call that redirecting the child. The girl then goes to her father and says, "Daddy, where did I come from?" Dad is busy. He looks up and he says, "From monkeys." Dad is a scientist like us. So the poor little girl goes back downstairs to mother and says, "Mom, I thought you said I came from Adam and Eve. I just asked Dad, and he said we come from monkeys." And the mother says, "That's his side of the family." Tonight, I should like to tell you about one particular hot, humid, sunny afternoon 28 years ago in West Africa. I wish to tell you about my commencement. I remember we took the oath, the Hippocratic oath, whose opening words were, "I swear by Apollo the physician, and by Asclepius, and Hygeia, and Panacea, and all the gods and goddesses, making them my witnesses." Then we heard about Imhotep, and we heard about the island of Delos in Greece, the birthplace of Apollo, who was taken at an early age to Delphi, high on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, and where now stand the ruins of the temple of Apollo. And Apollo taught the healing art of medicine to Chiron, and Chiron taught the healing art of medicine to Asclepius, and Asclepius in turn taught the art to his two daughters, Hygeia and Panacea, and they taught medicine to Hippocrates, who was born on the island of Kos. And the one generation taught the other, and the one taught the other, and the serpent entwined itself around the rod of Asclepius and became the symbol of medicine forever. The message was abundantly clear. We were direct descendants of the ancient physician priests who practiced in the temple of Apollo. And we were entering into a covenant and a solemn and binding treaty. And we bore a responsibility to uphold that noble tradition. I remember my commencement. Today, the old divinities have long passed away, and we no longer swear by ancient Greek gods and goddesses. But the old responsibilities have not passed away. It is still about nobility, and it is still about humility. I remember my commencement. Professor David G. Montefiore was our speaker. He was also the dean of my medical school, which began as an external college of the University of London. He was a guy's man. A guy's man was a term used in England in those days to describe physicians, all male, of course, who came out of Guy's Hospital in the Southwark district in central London. John Keats, the poet, was a surgeon at Guy's Hospital. Sir Alfred Poland, who described the unilateral absence of pectoral muscle, the Poland syndrome, was a Guy's man. Sir Ashley Cooper, the Cooper's ligaments in the breast, was a Guy's man. Richard Bright of Bright's disease, Thomas Addison of Addison's disease, Thomas Hodgkin of Hodgkin's lymphoma were all Guy's men. John Braxton Hicks, the Braxton Hicks contractions, was a Guy's man. And Sir Alexander Fleming, the discoverer of penicillin, was a Guy's man. So Professor Montefiore was a Guy's man, and he walked as such. And his father was a Guy's man. And I knew all this about him all those years. But there was something that I did not know. Two years ago, I was in England to attend a belated 25th year reunion of my medical school class. And I decided to dig around. And I discovered that my dean, Professor David Goldsmith Montefiore, was the son of Dr. Nathaniel Montefiore, who was the son of Abraham Israel Montefiore, who was the younger brother and business partner of Sir Moses Haim Montefiore, after whom our Montefiore Hospital in the Bronx is named. Same family, same name, same spelling, just pronounced a little differently there. I had never made that connection. I never imagined in all these years that my British dean in my African medical school would have any connection whatsoever to my academic home in America for the last 24 years. So there are mysteries out there, and it's about discovery. But it is also about choices. I chose Einstein not only for its science, but because Einstein chooses to put its science at the heart of medicine. And I chose Montefiore not only for its medicine, but because Montefiore chooses to define medicine as an instrument of social justice. William Butler Yeats spoke to it when he said, "The intellect of man is forced to choose perfection of the life or of the work, and if it take the second, must refuse a heavenly mansion raging in the dark." And when all that story is finished, what's the news? In luck or out, the toil has left its mark. That old perplexity, an empty purse, or the day's vanity, the night's remorse. The intellect of man is forced to choose perfection of the life or of the work. The graduating class of 2013, may your choices be good ones.